Hey everyone, Dave Putz here from JKP Holdings. I just did this live stream over on Facebook and I wanted to make sure we do it over here as well. I was going over the top pitfalls of note investing. We've done some really awesome calls with some experienced investors as well as some newbies recently, and in our consulting sessions as well as our private calls. And what we found was a lot of people have a lot of pitfalls outside the normal space. And I'm going to hit a few of them here. I'm going to hit about seven I'm targeting here. So I want to do this live call so you guys can really understand what we're dealing with here, right? So one of the first things we talk about, and I would say 80% of the pitfalls note investors run into, is in due diligence. In our due diligence, we have a ton of steps in there that either is A, we don't that investors don't know about, or B, they don't know how to use it, or do it, or function it, right? So what we found was that part we're coming out with an ebook that will allow you to kind of go through a checklist kind of thing and understand each step so you can go through it and make sure it happens. Now, when we go ahead and go through that ebook and steps, we're going to cover a few of them in this call tonight. But what we realize is that a lot of people don't understand it, and that's understandable. We also have in that due diligence step, one of the things we work about is our 13 items that we ask our sellers for, which you can find on our website. And some of those things include like reading over collateral, the property inspections, which you can find in the call logs of your servicer. But we also see the fact that if you don't know what to do with that or even look for it, you don't know what you gain if that property is winterized or not winterized or whatnot. It makes it difficult. So you got to make sure you understand what you're looking at. So why is this a big deal and why people miss out on these opportunities is most of the time they're real estate investors. They're not in the note game, right? They're not in the paper and the legal side. They're in the real estate game. And when you're dealing with notes, you're not in the real estate game, right? In our live calls, we talk about this a lot. You're in the paper game. You're the bank. You're the Bank of America, Chase Manhattan, right? You're that kind of world. And most people don't realize what they're doing. So when we work on these kind of things with investors, we want to make sure they understand that first and foremost. You're not buying a piece of property. You're buying an IOU secured by the property, but you're good distance away from that. People also think that they can buy notes to get to the property. You can. However, you find out that that's not very common, right? And you can't isolate a certain property and say, hey, I want that property, right? But so when we talk about the pitfalls, these are some of the misconceptions and pitfalls people get into. But one of the things is once you buy it, the decision making makes it difficult. We're buying a note from an investor who we did some consulting. We're trying to help them fix the problem and dealing with the borrower and the slow pay and the issues and the decision making and what can you do, what should you do, how should you do it, can get overwhelming when you don't know, right? And get frustrating. Dealing with borrowers can get very frustrating. And you want to help out everyone. I mean, do you give if a borrower's late? Can you forgive late fees? Some people say yes. Some people say no. What if they've done five in the last 12 months? Not a good decision there. For us, we want to look at the fact that, be consistent. We want to make sure they know that we're a business. We're not just Uncle Sam that's just looking to help you out, right? We want to make sure we're consistent with everything we do. When we look at this stuff, we want to make sure that the borrower knows that we're a business and we're here to help them when we need to. However, we're also still looking to make a profit. So things such as modification agreements and whatnot is good. But when a borrower stops paying for a couple months, you need to make sure you're on top of this so you can tell your servicer to stop any additional payments. Because if you don't do that, the borrower can make a next month payment in 2 months and constantly be what they call a rolling 60, but they can push it out. They can be 120 days late. And if you're not catching it, they're just making a payment and catching themselves to a point where they can get down to 60 and you didn't realize it. You want to make sure you stay on top of it. You can't foreclose if they're under 90 days, but you need to make sure of it. So as soon as they hit 90 days, we're going to send a demand letter out. We're going to get that ball started. and we're going to freeze our servicers, tell our servicers to freeze any payments coming in, right? So why is that important? Well, the borrower knows that they have to come up with the entire amount. We're not playing games. We're not doing anything. They want to modify, we can. So the next thing we worry about with our note buyers, we're seeing some of the pitfalls, is the nuances of the notes, right? Understanding that that when they're buying this asset, they're buying an idea of future payments coming in on a performing note, and when they don't realize that, it doesn't always mean that. We never know what's going to happen with a borrower. It's not a leave it and forget it mailbox money that people talk about sometimes. That note can default at any moment, and that's frustrating and annoying, right? We've foreclosed on someone 4 times for them to pay up. It is extremely difficult to deal with. But we want to make sure you got a good understanding of some of the pitfalls we've been recently seeing, and I want to do a live stream to show this out to our followers. If you have a situation or a problem or a pitfall that you think you've dealt with, such as we dealt with insurance, four-place insurance, we knew that a property inspection showed a problem, but we didn't realize the property forced place insurance on the property was a different policy and we could not file a claim on it. We got ourselves in a bad spot. But when we talk about this, we want to make sure that you guys get a good understanding. So we love for you to put into the comments below, what pitfalls have you seen as a note buyer, or questions you have about pitfalls? Put it below and we will cover it soon. We hope to see you guys in the next week's live real estate note show and the DME at the end of May. And next week we'll be coming out with hopefully our ebook guide to due diligence on note buying. Enjoy, everyone.